We'll get green on that. Receiving content.
I do not know what I did, but when I go to YouTube on this computer,
yeah,
signed in as Geekvice, I can't go to my videos or whatever it's called. My channel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not listed. It's not one of my options.
That's weird. Here, do you want me to send you the link to it?
Nah, if I remember right, I can get there. Just have to remember how.
Well, I just put it in the chat. If you.
Yeah, when I get there, I can't see if anybody's chatted or how many people's on.
Oh.
And I want to be able to see that.
Gotcha.
But for some reason, that ability is now gone.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I do not know why that is the case.
Me neither, but it's a thing.
Well, you're going to have to figure that one out. Because I can't help you with that.
Tell me about it.
Works fine on mine. It's about the only thing that works fine on mine.
Yeah, I can even go to the creator studio.
Really?
And yeah. But I can't go to our videos. It's the strangest thing.
That is weird. That is weird.
According to Jason, my voice is super echoey.
Your voice is super echoey?
So he said he thinks another mic is picking up my voice on your end.
Okay. Well, hi Jason for watching the show. Alright, John, I need you to talk for me so I can figure out which one of these it's on.
Check. Is that enough, or do you need to keep talking?
Yeah, it seems fine on my end. I don't know which one it is. I wonder if I change. Let's try.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I haven't used any of that stuff on your end, so I don't know.
I know it. I know it. So let's try that. Alright. Try that now. Yeah, that I think is better. Well, I've got you switched on so I think it's working. Maybe. I just don't know, ha ha ha, that's because I apparently broke it. I bet you I'm gonna have to. Alright, I'm gonna stop the stream and start it back up and see if that fixes it
anymore. Maybe that'll get rid of the echoing.
Stream resumed. So
well, it got rid of it. Okay.
Now I can hear you. I could hear you before, and you didn't sound echoey to me, but I switched which
Jason says it's better now, so he must have done something right.
Well, so either it was something you did or something I did, but
I think it was disconnecting my microphone on my laptop.
ah, that could be. So it was like it was picking you up twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my headphones probably have that sorted out. All right, well, hi, Jason.
So I guess we get to let people watch us fumble in the dark live.
Hey, you know what? Even the best shows do have these technical difficulties because I just watched an episode of the morning stream, which that guy's been recording for like 15 years or something like that. And he still ran into one where he was having problems and dropping frames and things like that. So he was. Everyone has technical difficulties every once in a while. Some people just get to see behind the door, behind the curtain, behind the door. What's the saying? I think it's behind the curtain.
Behind the
I make
curtain.
I make shit up as I go. All right, you ready to skin this cat?
Let's do it.
All right, we're gonna start
Is the
in
cat
3,
ready?
2, 1. Oh, welcome everybody to Geekvice, episode 186, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
I'm going to apologize now if we run into any technical difficulties along the way because apparently updating Windows 10 decided to jack with all of my settings. So I don't know why, but it reset all of my audio inputs and outputs through my digital voice or my digital soundboard and changed, like, went back to defaults on all the different programs. So I had to remember what was what. And that
Well,
was
it's
kind
just
of,
keeping you on your toes, making sure you know what you're doing.
you know what, I should like write some of this shit down and then it wouldn't be so easy to fix later.
That's overrated. That's way overrated.
All right, so some quick announcements. We've got one. Go check out Holly's World. How many episodes she got up there now?
2.
2 episodes up on Holly's World. She's got more to come. You can go learn all about the world as seen through Holly's eyes. Great show that Holly, John's wife, is putting together, and we are supporting them. So make sure you go check out her interviews that she's got going on.
Yeah, if you're into the fitness world whatsoever, this will be in your wheelhouse.
Perfect. And another shout out to a new podcast arcade podcast hosted by the Podfather himself, Eddie. It is Paranormal Dads. He's got a couple of other co-hosts on that one talking all things paranormal. They just had their first episode released this last Friday. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I have high hopes. I mean, anything Eddie does is pretty much like gold. So
He's the podcast King Midas. As soon as he touches it, it turns to gold.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's what's going on out there. Be sure to go check out the other stuff on the Podcast Arcade at thepodcastarcade.com. Go check out all of our other shows that we have there and throw some love their way.
Do it now. Okay,
So,
not now.
Yeah, don't do it right now. Do it like after the show now. Or before the show now. If you're not listening to this live, you could do it before. But if you're then listening to us, then you might not want to do it before. or however that should go.
I don't know. I lost track.
Kip's over there just shaking his head. All right. Well, we have a big show for you today because we are going to be talking all about GenCon and Kip's trip to Indianapolis and all the crazy games he got to play. He started making a list, and I just started looking at this thing. And I'm like, Jesus, man, how did you have time to play all these things?
Well, strangely enough, I went to a gaming convention, so I played games.
Yeah, that's man. Well, so let's start off. Tell us about your trip, man. What'd you think? Did you have a good time at the 50th anniversary of Gen Con?
I had a blast. What's funny about it is it was the 50th Gen Con, but it didn't seem like they did anything special for it. It just felt like Gen Con. Which is kind of weird. You'd think they would go a little bit crazy for, a half century of gaming goodness, but apparently not. I guess just being Gen Con was enough. But, hey, I still had a good time. It didn't matter. It's an 8-hour drive from here to Indianapolis. Luckily, I had Jason with me, so I didn't fall asleep or anything like that. Though I wanted to a few times, that's for dang sure. I'll admit it. One thing you will notice when you drive to Indianapolis from Kansas City is there's a hell of a lot of semis on I-70.
Oh,
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have made that drive many a times when we would go up to Speedway, Indiana for the Indianapolis 500. And yes, semis on that road, like that whole stretch, like all the way up. Yeah, they kind of get in the way. Although if you can like get in right behind one that's booking at 80, 85 miles an hour, that's always nice.
None of them were booking it. Well, this is how it was. Driving up Wednesday, it took us 8 hours. Driving home on Sunday took 7.
You had a
so
good
traffic
tailwind.
added an hour. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I blame the semis and the road construction.
Yeah.
To whoever's credit, all the road construction that was going on Wednesday when we drove was opened up on Sunday. They took all the stuff down, so we didn't have to slow way down and get behind a semi going 30, that kind of thing. So that helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
So enough about the boring parts. Let's get into the Gen Con.
Yeah.
So Indianapolis is a cool city, really. The downtown is a happening place, really. It's pretty cool. They had a lot of things to see. Well, actually, we walked a little bit, and I saw like a place you could go in and just play drums, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't do it. I can do that here at home, so I didn't feel like I needed to pay somebody to go play drums when I can do it for free here. But they had that, and with all the positive stuff, they have got one major negative that I don't mean to complain because it's not like they can help it or anything like that.
Right.
But there is a huge panhandling problem in downtown Indianapolis.
Oh, and I'm sure it's even worse, like just the fact that there's 1.5 million people in town for this convention.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jason pointed out, he goes, you can tell the full-time versus the Gen Con homeless. It's like, okay, I couldn't, but I'll take your word for it, because I'm not a worldly person, I guess. But that's fine. But yeah, that was really the only negative. One of the really cool things was Friday and Saturday night. There's this big traffic circle that we had to walk by to get from Gen Con to our hotel. And Friday and Saturday night, it was just pretty much lined with motorcycles. Big motorcycle contingent just hangs out there on Friday and Saturday nights, apparently.
Oh, that's cool.
Which was cool because didn't hear a lot of sirens, didn't get shot, nothing like that. It seemed to be pretty tame other than motorcycles. Well, that was cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So we got there Wednesday. I was dumb enough not to have my badge mailed to me if I had it in will call.
Mm.
And so after we checked into the hotel, we walked to GenCon, and I walked in, and there's the will call right there, but the line goes as far as the eyes can see in this convention center. It's like, holy cow. And you just keep walking and walking and walking. And finally, you see a guy holding a sign saying, "This is the end of the line." And it's like, well, that's ominous, but it's also good that we know where we're supposed to stop. So this,
Oh,
this,
wow.
this quarter of a mile long line, or whatever it really was, it was pretty freaking long. Went fast. Credit to the people who work Gen Con. I don't think I was in that line more than 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, it was like the way they did it, and every time the line would have crossed through a hallway, they actually ended the line and made it another one start on the other side of the hallway, and they had people there monitoring so nobody cut the line and stuff like that.
Huh.
So they'd let one section go all the way through and then wave you in, so it felt like you just kept walking long distances instead of taking one step every so often. So I think that made it feel like it went faster. So kudos to the Indianapolis Convention Center staff. They kicked ass. Got that. Ate at an Italian Chicago pizzeria type of place, which was good. And then we went back to the hotel and we played Tiny Epic Quest. I don't know if you've played any of the Tiny Epic games.
I am not.
They're actually full-on board games, but they come in a small box. You know, like even smaller than, say, the Flapjacks and Sasquatches box.
Right? Yeah, because I've seen you've got Tiny Epic Galaxies, don't you?
Well, I don't. Jason does.
Oh, Jason does. Okay.
Yeah. So we played that, and it was a lot of fun. I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. I finished last in almost every game I played, so we'll just get that out of the way now. So Jason and I played Tiny Epic Quest, and of course I lost.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, amazing. And trying to think, I don't think we played anything after that. I think it was kind of one of those things where neither one of us brought a lot of games because we thought we're at Gen Con. There's going to be games everywhere.
Right.
First night, not so much. Even though there were people playing at different tables, nobody really went outside of their group. There wasn't like, hey, there's a couple of guys with nothing to do. Let's see if they want to play. Nothing like that.
Right.
So we finally just watched some people play, and after a while, it's like, fuck it, let's go to bed. Tomorrow's a big day. Let's just,
Right.
let's get it here as quickly as possible. So first night, that was really all we did, and which was fine. So we got up early in the next morning and went and had breakfast and then hoofed it down to Gen Con. Being a horrible friend that I am, everything that Jason signed up for, he bought me a ticket. Only one of the things I signed up for did I buy Jason a ticket. So the first thing I signed up for, I didn't buy him a ticket. I guess it just didn't occur to me. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a terrible person. But I played Discworld Witches with this group of strangers. And it was a good game. It was basically everybody's a witch, and bad things keep happening in the area all these witches live. And so it's a cooperative game, but as they put it, there's also this point system to see who won gooder than everybody else. So if the game beats us, then everybody loses. If we beat the game, then somebody won better by keeping track of victory points and all this other stuff. So that was fine. each one of us had things that were like our special powers. Like one of them was like could cure sick pigs and things like that. So each location, a bad thing chip could be on it, and you flip it over to see what the bad thing is. And there was things like sick pigs. One of them was pregnancy. It had a pretty funny sense of humor. There was location names like where the sun doesn't shine, stuff like that. One of them was the Long Man, and when you look at the spot on the board, the Long Man was a very phallic-looking thing on the board. So I thought that was kind of funny. At least they tried. Another location was called Badass. So it was just kind of a good mix of cooperative board game with a pretty good sense of humor that's not really for kids.
Right.
But I had a good time with it. We ended up winning. Never really felt like we were in danger of losing the whole time. So I don't know if we didn't play it right. I was not responsible for the rules, by the way. So if everybody's like, yeah, you didn't play right, you were playing. Nope, I had nothing to do with that.
Well, you beat me to the punch because I was right there. I was ready to jump on that softball.
Yeah, I figured that's why I kept going. So we won it pretty easily. There were some things like if so many of the bad things that happened were elves. If enough of those tiles pop up, you lose the game. We were smart enough to keep knocking those out when we could. The bad things, they were called problems. And I was playing with these guys who are younger than you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And they went, when we started looking at the game and figuring out the rules, they're like, well, what if there's a problem over here? Who are we going to send over here? And so you have to send Vanilla Ice. And they didn't understand the joke. And I even went, yo, if you got a problem, I'll solve it. You know, check out the hook. My DJ performs it. They still didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So I walked away going, maybe I'm not funny after all, which could be the case. But anyway, that was too bad.
Oh, I laugh. I just laugh because I can see this happening. Like, I mean, you're used to throwing out those witty comments that everybody, just looks at you and just laughs. But I could actually see you throwing out all kinds of comments and them just looking at you going, who is this old guy? Why is he sitting here with us?
Well, what's funny is there was two guys and a girl and then me. And the girl was one of those very jovial people, just smiling, happy all the time.
Right.
And when I broke out my Vanilla Ice rap, she just kind of looked at me like, what the hell? It's like, oh, great. But that didn't stop me. I kept making jokes the whole time, and
that's awesome.
So I'm sure they walked away going, I hope we don't see that guy anymore. But yeah, it was a good time. I'd like to play it again sometime. I'm not going to buy it, but I'd like to play it again and see if there's actually a chance of losing, or if it was just that easy. It's hard to say.
Yeah, and some of those, it's like you play them and you're like, oh yeah, this is really easy, and then you play it a second or third time and you actually realize that you're like, oh, nope, it just happened to work out perfect that time, and it is no longer easy.
Yeah, then that could very well be the way it went, but I may never know. I may never play the game again. I guess.
What was the name of that one?
It was Discworld Witches.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Had a good time with it. Got done with that, and while I was doing that, Jason went over to the vendor hall. And apparently, before the vendor hall opened, there was like thousands of people in line to get in, and they had to make the announcement of no running, no pushing, shoving, all this other stuff. You could lose your badge if you do, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I missed out on all that. But apparently, what it is everybody gets in line to rush in so they can be first in line at another place to buy the latest and greatest game offering by said booth runner, like
Right.
Fantasy Flight Games or
Yeah.
Days of Wonder or something like that. So I got there, and Jason was in line to buy stuff. And I walk up to, well, first of all, we texted back and forth trying to coordinate where the hell he was. And first I stopped by Prolific Games booth and said hi to those guys. And then Jason said, okay, I'm at this booth. So I asked him, do you guys know where this booth is? And they went, yeah, it's way over there in the other corner. So I went way over there in the other corner. And about the time I got there, Jason sent me the booth number. And it was closer to where I was than where I ended up.
The joys of a giant con right there.
Yeah.
Joys
So
of a giant con.
I don't know if they trolled me at the Prolific Games booth or they just took a wild guess and it was wrong. I don't know. But either way, so I met up with him at whatever booth he was at, and he had a shit ton of games he was buying. And I was like, holy crap, dude. And the first thing he says, don't tell Holly. And it's like, why would my wife care how many board games you got? I think he's worried that she thinks he's a bad influence on me. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially after the last time you were at the Friday gaming with Jason, you bought that other game. What was it? Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can see how he could feel that way, and I would say, Jason, if you're still listening, yep, you better watch out for that one. She's not gonna allow John to go anywhere with you anymore.
Yeah. Oh well, it's okay. So we spent probably the bulk of that day in the vendor hall checking things out. Saw some cool stuff. Jason played this game called Giant Killer Robots, or GKR, as the cool kids say, apparently.
Yeah, of course.
Which is a really cool game. It had giant miniatures, and the board was not just a flat board with a city map on it. The buildings were actually in 3D.
Was that the one you put a picture up on our, picture up in the messenger?
Yeah, and I'm going to make a blog post and show what I'm talking about, so people who want to actually see what the hell I'm trying to describe, that'll be up there. It was a cool game. Basically, you're a corporation or you're a robot run by a corporation. I can't remember how. I didn't play. I just sat there and watched. And it's basically a robot battle. And of course, as things go, I play a lot of games with Jason, and he always seems to find a way to get things lined up perfectly for, like the turn from hell if you're playing against him type of thing. And I walked up, and the guy running the game, I looked at him and goes, everybody beating his ass? And the guy looked at me and goes, he just had like the most ultimate turn ever. It's like, of course he did. It's always that way. But he didn't win, but he had a good time. And I'm sure that game's expensive as hell, but it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially with all the pieces like that. I could see that being a pretty costly.
Yeah.
Endeavor.
So while he was doing that, and my feet were hurting already, sad but true, I walked over to this booth that was test driving a game called Valerian into the Alpha, or something to do with Alpha.
Yeah.
I'll look it up here. The Alpha Missions. So it's based on the movie. The characters are Valerian and Lorelei from the movie. And basically you're on Alpha. If you haven't seen the movie, Alpha was basically the International Space Station growing and growing and growing over the millennia.
Mm-hmm.
Came the City of 1,000 Planets or whatever the heck the movie was called. So
Right.
you're in there. It's a cooperative thing with, as they all do, on your turn, you flip over a monster card and stuff happens and you got to do this and that. And um, I had a really good time with the game. Sadly, it was a little bit like Witches, where it was like, wow, that was way too easy to win. The guy tells me it was because they started us on like level 7 or turn 7 or something like that instead of 0. So shortened
Right.
the game so it didn't get as hard, and that's why we did so well. So 7 out of 20. So we missed 6 steps.
Okay.
But you think with the 7 through 20, you would still get a pretty good sense of
Yeah.
feeling like you could lose.
Yeah.
Never did. Never felt in danger or even close. But I liked the mechanics of the game. I liked the combat. I liked a little bit more of the. I know a lot of gamers don't like the randomness, but I did like the randomness. You know, you draw a card, that's your monster, depending on what level you're on. You know, if there's a level 1, 2, and 3. 3s are a bitch. Level 1s are fairly easy.
Gotcha.
I just and what it is, it's a little bit like Legends of Drist or
Okay.
Descent or something like that, where it's a modular board
Mm-hmm.
and you draw cards and you where their locations are, you put these pieces down upside down, so it just says level 1, 2, or 3 on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you flip it over, there's something you have to do on the other side. Well,
Right.
we were jumping around level 1 stuff, and finally it's like, screw this. So I jumped immediately headlong into a level 3, trying to make the game a little bit more exciting. It got kind of hairy for a minute, but we got back on top of it pretty quick. So again, I'm kind of worried the game is just going to be too easy. I would have liked to have played it as designed, you know, from starting where you're supposed to start and finishing it through to see if it actually got hairier. But so as you move tiles, you flip them over. As you move to a blank space, you draw a new tile and play it, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was fine. It was good. So I got that played. I can't even remember the name of the company.
It's by that one is by Ultra Pro is the
Ultra
publisher.
Pro, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who ran it was super nice. They even gave out tickets. They were showing the Valerian movie Friday night. So
Yeah.
they actually were giving out tickets to people who played the game so you could go watch it for free.
Oh, that's cool.
It was cool,
It's
but
kind of a neat
I had,
idea.
I had plans Friday night, so I turned down the ticket because it's like, well, I've already seen the movie, plus I already signed up for something else, so suck it. And
Well,
so,
and it looks like that one's not even out for sale yet. It's still in pre-order right now. So
yeah, they thought end of September, beginning of October, it would
gotcha.
be ready. Um, if you get a chance to play it, anybody listening, and without buying it, I would suggest giving it a try, playing it all the way through. And if you do, let me know if it was harder,
Yeah.
because I watched like 3 playthroughs and did one myself, and none of them felt like there was ever a chance of losing.
Well, you know what you should do. Next time you go into tabletop, you should ask them if they've got a test version of it that you can try out on one of your Fridays.
Yeah,
Because
if they do that.
there are some game shops that they have they'll open up the games and have them there to be for people to try out, to see if it's something they would want to buy.
Yeah, no, I may talk to Phil and see what he says.
Yeah, see if you can get
So,
a test run.
so that's pretty much how we ended our afternoon. And then Jason bought us tickets, and this also goes into me being a terrible friend, to do the Stonemeyer Games like fan appreciation night. So, but instead, we went and hung out with Bill and those guys from Prolific Games, which I think was actually more fun. It's just sad that we burned a ticket.
Right.
And but I've played Seven Wonders a couple of times before Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
And every time the person who tried to explain the game to me did a terrible job. And I always thought, I don't know what the fuck this game is. It's not any fun. I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And then Jason had the same reaction. So I'm like, great, it's not just me. And then we sat down with Bill, and John wasn't there. His wife is having a baby, so he was not there.
Oh,
Oh,
good reason
yeah.
not to be there.
Yeah, yeah. I figured she probably would be very upset if he went to Gen Con. but that's okay. So we met some other, I'm going to call them booth babes just in case Bill is listening. His booth babes were Josh and Alex. Yes, both guys. And so they're like, yeah, one of our favorite games to play at these cons is Seven Wonders. And I'm like, fuck. It's like, oh, great, let's play. But because it's Bill and he does a really good job of explaining the game, I was still lost for most of the gameplay. But by the time the game ended, I was like, oh, now I know why we do what we do. And now I understand what the hell's going on with this game. So suddenly the hate meter dropped a little bit. So Seven Wonders, I don't hate nearly as much.
Well, that's good to know on that one, because that's one that I've looked at several times when I've gone to the store. It's like I've debated on pulling it up. I've seen it several times where it's been on sale and 50% off at some places, and it's like, I've looked at it. I've heard good things about it. Lots of people like playing it, but just haven't quite enough. I hadn't quite thought enough of it to pull the trigger and just get it.
Yeah, and there's a good reason to not just pull the trigger and get it, because it must be a tough rule book or something. I don't know, because there's the local library here does a thing the first Wednesday of the month where you can go and play board games. One of the librarians tried to teach us Seven Wonders, and when we got done, I'm like, I have no idea what just happened. So if you get a chance to play with somebody who really knows the game and knows how to teach a game, I would recommend doing that before you purchase this game.
Yeah, good to know.
Because it gets a lot of love. A lot of people say they like it. But until I played with Bill, I had no clue what the hell this game was. So now we do. So we played that, and then Bill has a game, and he'll be mad because I can't remember the name, that he is test driving. It's in pre-production, and so we played a little bit of that. Loved that game. When that hits Kickstarter, I'm backing that one.
Sweet.
Yeah,
did he give you a sneak? Did he give you a sneak peek on, or a little hint on when it might hit that point?
No, I didn't badger him about it. The cool part about it is I played with Bill, the designer of the game.
Yeah.
And then Jody, who's going to do the art for the game, played with us.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then one other person who... See, I need to write this stuff down. I know. So we played, had a really good time. You're basically... there's a war going on up in the clouds, and you are basically getting equipment and things for the generals of each one of their, parts of the army that they run. And so they each have their own symbol, and you actually are a smuggler getting these things for them. And it has a little bit of a take that mechanic. It has a little bit of resource management to it. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'll let Bill do it sometime when we have him on. Yeah. All I'm going to say is I had a really good time with the game.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and it had these cards off. The main cards are in a circle, and then you can replace them with cards that were kind of in the tableau, I guess you could say. And on it is a movement. and you could. Some of them you just move yourself. Some of them you move yourself and one person of your choosing, and some of them can't speak, is everybody moves. And so you can like replace a card somebody else wants with another one of these cards, or you can play a card and make everybody move, and that person didn't want to move, and so there's the take that part of it. The resource management part of it was if you do not I guess turn in your goods to the general and he goes off to war, you don't get paid. The other part of it is if you go to the guy too early and sell your goods to him, you can't trade with him in that particular general anymore, or captain. Maybe it's called Sky Captains. I can't remember. Sorry, Bill, if you're listening.
Oh, he's listening. Maybe not right this second, but he will be listening, and you will hear about this.
I will, and I don't blame him. I would be mad too. Anyway, as soon as you trade with said captain, you can't trade with him the rest of the game. So, and then as the deck goes down, different captains get called to war, and once they go to war, you can't trade with them either. So there's this whole trying to press your luck, resource management. Just love the game. I probably already said too much, but I just love the game, so I can't wait to do that.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's GenCon day one. Not too shabby. Actually, I think we went back to the hotel room and played a few more games. I think we did. Let's look at the magic thing on my phone. Yep, we did. Okay. So one of the other games we played with Bill was called Sagrada. And Sagrada is this dice game where you're basically, it's colored dice, and you place them by the pips or the color, and it's like filling in a stained glass window.
Yeah.
And you get points based on a card that has like your secret agenda and stuff like that. I liked it so much that I bought myself a copy at GenCon.
Nice.
So I'll do a little bit more in-depth review on that one, but I liked that game quite a bit, enough to buy it at GenCon. So Bill taught me that game as well, so that's awesome. Now we went back to the hotel, just Jason and I, and he bought a game called Santorini, which is it says 2 to 4 players, but it's really a 2-player game. It's a little bit of an abstract where you're placing pieces of a building, and you're trying to get it up to 3 stories and place the dome on it. The first one who does that wins. And the straight game with no god cards in it kind of felt a little flat. But once we introduced the god cards, which gave you your special abilities that the other player didn't have, added a new depth to the game, and actually ended up being pretty fun. I think we ended up playing 4 games of that.
Dang.
And I think we went 2-2.
Nice.
So I didn't lose every time, but I think those 2 games were probably the only ones I won, besides the co-op. So
what Jason threw out there that Josh and those guys went gaga over role player. What is
yes,
role player?
They did. I didn't play role player. It's a dice game where you're building your like D&D character. The whole game is building your character, your character's stats.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's pretty fun. I didn't play with them the first night, but we ended up playing it Saturday night. But it's just one of those games where you roll dice, and depending on what turn order and all this other stuff, you take the dice and put it on your board. And there's certain things you got to meet, like if you're like certain character, it's con. We'll say you need to have it. Your dice values equal 18. there's only 3 slots, so all 6 of your dice better, or all 3 of your dice better be a 6. That
Right.
kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And if you manage to do that, you get victory points. So as you fill in the board, you got to keep that stuff in mind. It also have a place where you have to play a specific colored dice in this one spot and things like that. And as you fill it up, you got to keep that in mind. There's special things you can do based on where you place your dice and stuff like that. At the end of it all, you end up filling up every slot, and at the end of it, you just count up the victory points and see who made their character the best, I guess. It sounds pretty simplistic, but it is a heck of a lot of fun. It's one of those games that's easy to learn, but the strategy is tougher than you may think.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend playing Role Player. And if you get a chance to pick it up, I would even recommend buying Role Player. It's that good.
Sweet.
Yeah, so Josh and Alex from Prolific Games, they loved that game. Josh bought it, and that's why we played it there. So
Okay.
it was nice that he bought the game. Jason showed them how to play it, and they loved it, so they felt like they got their money's worth, which is always a good thing. So that ended day 1. Finally, day 2, we decided we had tickets to the library, which was on the football field in Lucas Oil Stadium. And basically, you take your ticket to them, and they give you a makeshift library card. And then you can check out a game, go play it, and then check it back in, check out another one, go play it. So you could spend your whole time there playing tons of games. They had old stuff, they had brand spanking new stuff, so you could try about everything.
Nice.
They also had yellow and red flags that you could put at your table. Yellow flag meaning need more players to play with, and red flag meaning I need somebody to teach me this game. So they had a good system. We ended up playing Ennis, which got high marks on Shut Up and Sit Down.
Yeah.
And either we didn't figure it out, didn't read the rules correctly, or something, but I lost on the first turn. It's supposed to be one of those like 90-minute to 2-hour games, I think, and it was over after the first turn. So we both walked away going, I don't know if we played this game right, and if we did, this game blows.
Oh, that's not good.
No, and I was really looking forward to it. When Jason pointed out, I go, look, and it's like, yes, let's play that. That would be awesome. So if anybody owns the game and knows how to play and thinks that we may have done something wrong, invite me to play the game and show me how it's really played. Because we blew it. Well, at least I did. We played another game. Let me see. I'm really trying to remember how things went down. Oh, and then we went and played an RPG using the Fate Core system. I think we actually did that before we went to Lucas Oil Stadium. It was called Demon Hunters, and it's basically I think it even says Demon Hunters, a comedy of horror, something like that. So
Right.
it's supposed to be a fun game. They had pre-made character sheets. You just picked the one you wanted. So, as my usual thing, I picked the biggest guy who is just basically a meat shield and likes punching things, which seemed like a really good idea. And then he told us what our setting was, and suddenly it's like, this wasn't a great idea. Because our scenario was we were at the theater to see the play about William Henry Harrison, former president, way back when.
Right.
And the main actor gets found dead, but not just dead. Part of his body is sunk into the floor. So now we're like, oh, something supernatural great. I punch things. I can't punch a ghost, so I don't know what I'm going to end up doing. But it ended up being pretty fun. If anybody who's played the Fate core system,
I say, how did you like the Fate core system? Because I've never played in it, but I've seen it played quite a bit, and I've listened to plays of it, and it is not it's not something that I would think you would be that you would really enjoy all that much. So I'm curious your thoughts of the core Fate core system.
well, when Jason first explained it to me, he's like, it's more on role playing than just rolling the dice. It's like, ah, oh, crap. But okay, I'll be open minded. Let's do this thing. And I had a really good time. I liked the aspects of your character is good at certain things, and based on that, you roll a different die, like a D4 or a D8 or a D10 if they're really good at it. And you basically just tell the DM, this is what I want to do using this attribute and this, whatever the hell it's called. And you roll your dice. If you roll it high enough, ta-da, it worked. You could do a lot more role playing with it. I tried to do a little bit, fell flat, so I just basically just went to this is what I'm going to try to do, and I'm going to do it with this and this. Okay, roll the dice. Okay, how did that go? And so we ended up doing all these things. Like my guy, when you go from the stage down to where the actors are, you actually go down these stairs, and that's where the body was, and then everybody was wanting to look at the body and try to clear out the audience at the same time. So being the big scary guy, I decided I should be one of the people to try to clear out the audience. That's when I tried role-playing and failed. But after a while, some stuff started happening downstairs, so my character decided to run down the stairs to see if he can help. And as he's running downstairs, the stairs basically disappear and turn into this ramp. My guy goes sliding down the ramp, bumps off another guy, goes into a room, and then when he goes in the room, the door disappears. So I finally got to use the ability of my guy and punch a hole in the wall and get out of this room. So we do a bunch of stuff like that, and finally, the big final battle, I'll call it, is there's like a big foam plant that's like from like Little House of Horrors. Feed me Seymour, big Venus flytrap.
Yeah.
And then there was also this glowing skull flying around doing stuff. And so when it came to my turn, I just decided I'm just this big guy who really can't do much other than punch things or, whatever. So I decided that I was going to run, grab the skull like Michael Jordan, and then slam it down the throat of the Venus flytrap. And the whole reason I wanted to do that was one of the attributes to my player was once per session, he can throw something, and when it lands, it explodes. So it's like, so I'm going to throw this thing, and when it hits the plant, it's going to explode. So then they also had these things that they wrote on a piece of paper that you could use the fate die for, and one of them was stop eating yourself because of something that happened earlier. So I'm like, so I'm going to use my combat tactics, which is a D10, and I'm going to use this other thing, which is another D10, and then I'm going to use this fate die for stop eating yourself to roll this fate die, and then I rolled it, and I rolled really freaking high, so it worked. And blew it all up to Kingdom Come, which was pretty awesome. So I had fun with that. At least I got to do. Well, you play D&D with me. How many times have I tried something stupid like that?
Oh yeah.
So I got to do it for real in this game. So it was kind of fun. We had some people who really got into the role playing. One was this girl at our table. Her character was like a Johnny Mnemonic kind of person.
Okay.
So she talked like a robot the whole time. So it's like, okay, you be you. You do what you do. And then there was this other guy. He was visually impaired, but he could see just enough where, he would have to look at his character sheet like this kind of thing, which was fine. I mean, he did a great job, but his character was like not very book smart, he kept saying. So what I found funny was to play the character of somebody who's not very book smart, dumb, if you will. He used a southern accent, so there you go. I
Awesome.
found that funny, but he role played his character. Yeah, I guess the way you're supposed to do it, not like I do it. But anyway,
Hey,
had a
there's
good
no
time with
wrong,
them.
no, there's no wrong way to role play a character. Like, to each their own. Like, I mean, that's the best part about it. I mean, that's what makes the role playing side of it so much fun. Is it you can you say that you do it wrong. I say you just do it you. So
I did. It was more for me rolling, ROLL instead of roll ROLE, but that's fine. Um, I had a good time. I think Jason had a good time as well. I still have my character sheet. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with it, but I still have it.
you should take a
Um,
picture of it and put it up on the blog with the big post on all these other games that you've played.
maybe I should. Yeah, maybe I should.
Trying to throw a little bit more work on you there.
Yeah. So, ignoring that, um, so we did that first, then we went to the library and played Innis, and we played a couple other things. Let me get up my list here. Oh, we played Discworld Ankh Morpork. Horrible name, but apparently some books that are
Yeah.
really good. Somebody in my office, Katie from our office, Katie,
Yeah.
um, she highly recommended this game, so we played. No surprise, I lost. Jason kicked my butt pretty soundly, mainly because we misunderstood one of the rules, and because of that, I was trying to do something that I didn't need to do. It said I had to take control of 7 different areas on the board, and we interpreted taking control as building a building on all 7 of those areas, which was not the case. I didn't have to build any buildings. Taking control meant I just had more minions on those sites than anybody else. I would have played it different. I wouldn't even needed the money for the building.
Gotcha.
So I lost spectacularly, but that's to be expected. And then we tried the game Castles of Burgundy, which is a Euro worker placement kind of a game, and it was okay. I had a good time with it. It's another one of those games where it's like I'm not gonna ever purchase this game, but I had a good time. I'm glad I played it. Um, no surprise, I did not win. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad to know how much you actually lose at these games, but the fact that you play them and have fun, I mean, that's got to say something, right?
Yeah, it does. The trick for me is, and it's the same way with watching a movie or a TV show. I have to watch it, play it, whatever, more than once for it to actually sink into this thick skull. So, you've
Yeah.
played D&D with me. I throw a hell of a lot of movie and TV quotes out.
Mm-hmm.
For me to remember those movie and TV quotes, I've had to watch those things a load of times.
Yeah.
So, for me to get good at a board game, I have to play it more than once. And um, you can ask Jason, like the second or third time we played Scythe, I mopped up the floor with everybody. So I don't always lose, but I have to play the game multiple times for me to even have a fighting chance.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough.
so we did all that, and then we could have went and played more games with Bill and those guys from Prolific, but I had purchased tickets for a game of Battlestar Galactica, and it was really the one thing I was looking the most forward to is getting to play Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And it was at 9 o'clock at night. So
Ooh.
Jason and I went and got something to eat, and then we, dropped stuff at the hotel. We ended up wandering around the hall until the game. The worst part about it is the exhibit hall is closed. Everything is pretty much closed except for these gaming tables. And so 9 o'clock came. We found the table we were supposed to be at, and nobody ever showed.
Oh, no.
We hung out for 20 minutes, and nobody showed. And we weren't the only ones that signed up for it. The game was full. Jason got the last spot. When I bought Jason's ticket, it was the last spot, and nobody showed. So
that's awful.
It sucked. It sucked hard. So, by this time we were, we've waited around doing nothing. So that makes you more tired. So finally we just walked back to the hotel and called it a night. So Friday kind of ended as a bust a little bit. It was too bad. I really wanted to play that game, but that's the way it goes. So Saturday we get up, and by this time I decided I want to buy my games today that I'm going to buy. But we got up early enough and got to the deal. It's like we have a couple hours before the exhibit hall opens, so we went to the library and we played. I think we played Clank. Jason can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we played Clank. And Clank is a deck builder dungeon crawl with an actual board, and there's more of a timing component to it. You have to go down, get an artifact, and go back up out of the thing.
Okay.
And the first one out then causes the damage to everybody else, because the dragon attacks every round while that person's waiting on everybody to catch up. So there's a little bit of take that and stuff like that with the game. I was under the impression that we steal an artifact, we go up. That's round one, and then we go back in, steal another artifact, go back up. That's round two. I didn't realize you steal an artifact, go back up, end of game. So I took a cheap, low victory point thing and ran out, and we counted up all the victory points, and of course I lost because of that. But I had a good time. I think Clank is a fun game.
I've heard a lot of good things on that one.
Yeah, and they debuted Clank in space at GenCon. Yeah. Never got to see it played. Didn't see the board or anything, so I'm not sure what it's all about. But if you get a chance to play Clank, highly recommend doing that. If you find it at a decent price, I'd say pick it up. It's a fun game. It has the aspects of being attacked by a dragon. It has the treasure finding aspect to it, and it's a deck builder, which I'm kind of tired of deck builders, but if it's done correctly and it's not the only mechanic, then it seems to work pretty well. Yeah, and I say that considering one of the games I bought is a deck builder, but we'll get it.
Yeah, I saw that on your list, and I can't wait to hear about that one. But yeah, this is another one of those games that I've been looking at, and I've kind of been debating on its the age on its 12 plus. On Board Game Geek they recommend 10 plus, which is right kind of in that wheelhouse for what I like to get to play with Reese.
I think Reese would have no problem with it.
And Reese is a fan of deck builders as well. Him and I both really enjoy the legendary games that we have and some of the other deck builder games that we've got. So, yeah, it's one that's kind of gone on my wish list as definitely a possibility. So the fact that you had a good time with it just moves it up a little bit higher on that list.
Well, you asked me the other day what was my favorite game, and honestly it was two. It was Clank and Sagrada. To me those were the two best games I played at the con.
Awesome.
So I picked up Sagrada. I didn't pick up Clank. I don't even think I really saw it for sale anywhere. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
So we got that done. It's like, well, the vendor hall's about open. Let's go do that. And much to my surprise, there was a humongous line to get into the vendor hall because it wasn't 10 o'clock yet, and billions of people standing there because they rush to the booths to buy the game. That, of course, they only put out so many for each day to keep people coming back. So
Right.
I wanted to get to the Floodgate Games booth so I could buy Stragata. And so we got through the wave of people, made it to the booth, found the lady that had the sign that says end of the line, got there, and I made some comment about, I hope they don't run out. I'm going to be pretty pissed. And she's like, no, there's like 150, so you should be fine. It's like, all right. So she was right. I got one. They gave us promo cards for it. Jason was nice enough to pick one up for Bill for his copy.
Nice.
So we have a GenCon, I guess, exclusive. I don't know. Anyway, we have a extra card. So we did that. We wandered around. My other thing was we played Legendary Marvel, the deck building game, with some friends about a month ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And really enjoyed it. Holly loved the game. And I figured, here's an opportunity to get a game that my wife will actually play with me, because not only is it Legendary, which she likes, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I picked up a copy of that and can't wait to get that played. The big thing that everybody talks about with this game is the artwork on the cards is actually pictures from the TV show. So
Photorealistic type.
Photorealistic cards, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at some of the pictures now. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
yeah. And of course, I haven't unboxed it or anything like that, so I don't have anything to show you. But so I'm pretty excited about that. And then I looked around for T-shirts and what have you, hoping to find, something for myself, something for the wife. I honestly felt like the T-shirt selection was not good. The subject matter was either too specific to something I don't take an interest in,
Right.
like a certain video game or an anime or something like this that just doesn't do it for me. Or if it is something that does, it's a little too off color that I wouldn't wear that shirt. Because basically we wear these types of T-shirts to work out in at the gym.
Right.
Didn't seem to work with that. So ended up not buying any T-shirts. So I felt like needed something. So I bought dice.
Oh, you bought more dice.
Bought some dice.
Awesome.
I bought the blood red ones. That's what I used when we played the Demon Hunters game. And it's like, oh, I love this color red. I'm going to have to buy it. So I did. So that's very cool.
I like that.
And I bought my wife a set of pink ones that are like this, but they're pink.
Nice.
So we both got a new set of dice, which was cool. And basically that's all the purchasing I did at GenCon. Can you believe that?
It's light. Yeah. I mean, what Jason walked out of there with, like, just stacks and stacks of games?
He did. He bought Santorini. He bought a bunch of expansions for a game that he really likes. And, of course, I can't think of the name. I'm terrible. He's told me like 25 times, and I can't remember any of them.
He's still in the chat room, so he'll probably mention it. Just give him a minute. There's a little bit of a delay.
Shadows of Brimstone. There, take that, Jason. I beat you to
it. You beat him to it.
Shadows of
typing it right now.
Or Shadows of Brimstone. Brimstone is in the title, so that's all you need to know. He bought some expansions for that. He bought some game that's something Golem. Century Golem, I think is what it's called. Didn't break that out to play, so I don't know anything about it. He bought some cool stuff for his kids. One of his kids is 26. Century Golem, thank you. Oh yeah, they have a Bob Ross game called
Oh,
Bob Ross: The Art of Chill, and the day before they had an actor who they dressed up and looked exactly like Bob Ross out there
oh,
shilling the
that's
game. He
awesome.
was. We stopped and talked to him. He was so awesome.
That's great.
And he was totally honest too. He's like, "Well, if you buy the game, great. If you don't, I don't care."
Well, that would be what Bob Ross would be like. He'd be like, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
So he bought that for his daughter, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's
And
awesome.
and then he bought Smash Up, another expansion to Smash Up, and then he bought these. I guess it's a web comic. These books by this web comic guy, and had
Right.
him sign it for his 26-year-old son. And they're like, how old's he going to be?" And he's like, 26. He's like, "All right." He wrote, "Happy birthday, Eric, you motherfucker." It's like, I already like this guy. And I don't know who he is. This is awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, the
Least I
comic is
could do
called "Least I
comic.
Could Do." So if you
Okay.
ever get a chance, look that up on the webs.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Yeah, so I just thought it was pretty funny that when they asked how old he was, I thought, yeah, that's kind of nice to at least ask that. And then when he wrote it down, it's like, now I know why you asked that. Okay, but that was pretty cool. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
he purchased a hell of a lot more than I did, but that's okay.
Yeah.
He had a list of stuff he wanted, and I did not.
Yeah.
I went by the seat of my pants and wanted to try some things first before I bought it.
Well, I do have to ask you a question. So you put a list up in the show notes of games that you had done, and there was one that I ran across here that I wanted to know more about because you know me and that I do like card games. I want to know more about custom heroes.
Okay, so Custom Heroes, we played a demo version, so we didn't get to play the full game, but
Right.
what we did play was pretty fun. And basically, you have a hero. You have um, it's like a trick taking game, really. You have a hero. You have all these cards. Um, you actually have a card sleeve that you could put your hero in, and you can get upgrades that are these clear cards that you can slide in with it and change its stats and things like this.
Yeah.
And the trick taking aspect of it is each card had a value, and whoever was the person to start it off, the values went from 1 to 10, and you had to either play the same value or higher than the person in front of you, and you had to play the same amount of cards as the person who started it. So if they put up a pair of ones, you either had to play a pair of ones or a pair of something higher.
Okay. Okay.
So if he played a pair of ones, you couldn't just throw 1 2 down. You had to throw two twos down. And if you couldn't, then you had to pass. And so the first one to go through their entire hand wins, kind of
Okay.
thing for that round. And it was kind of a fun way of doing a trick taking game. I really had a good time with it. But like I said, I'd like to have played it more.
Right. Right.
That's the demo. They can only they have to get as many people with their grubby fingers on the cards as they can.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading about that one and I was just like that one just sounds really interesting. Like I like card games, I like trick-taking games, and then I also like this idea that you can then almost like craft cards, like that you can kind of, change the way a card works by throwing it in a sleeve or changing its rule, like changing the properties of the card type thing. I kind of like that idea. I think that's a neat way to add to a trick taking game. So
Absolutely, it was a lot of fun. I did like the clear card with the card sleeves that you just slide over the card.
yeah,
It was like your main character card that you could use as you see fit, kind of deal. So it was good. Like I said, though, I'd like to have played it more to see if it was worth the purchase.
right.
Um, didn't didn't even think about purchasing it after we played it, even though had a good time. It was just one of those
Right.
things. Like I would really like to uh, see it played again, or actually played again.
Right.
Uh,
Right. I get
yeah,
that. I get
yeah.
that.
So
Cool.
that game was, yeah, again, it was just one of those games. Like, well, my interest has peaked. I need
Mm-hmm.
more information. More information.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
and Jason made the comment that Bill said he liked Mystic Veil for the card crafting system, so I'm gonna have to check that one out too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could be, it could be a better game. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I hadn't played Mystic Vale, and I hadn't played enough custom heroes to know anything.
Right.
But that's fine. What else
Very
you got for me?
cool. Very cool. I don't have much more.
All right.
Gosh, you ran through a whole bunch of games, and I mean, I'm
Well,
sure there's
I
even
still
more.
haven't mentioned them all yet. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure there's even more. We've gone on for over an hour now, so um, I say we got to put a cut in there in this episode. But with that, I definitely think you should get your fingers a typing and get a blog post up that can cover a little some of the ones we missed in this one because you threw out games in here like Truck Off and Abyss and Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Those are just a few of them that you had listed off here that we didn't even have time to get to. So,
right.
uh,
Yeah. Truck Off is a game that we played with Bill. It's a to me it's a filler game.
yeah,
Um,
just in between things.
yeah, you basically own a food truck and you go to different venues and try to make money.
Oh,
But you
so
have
it's
all
not
these
like something walking around going truck off.
no, but you have cards in your hand that you can use to mess with other players' ability to make money.
Ah,
So it has that aspect that I think Bill must just love this aspect of take that
yes,
because
he does. Yes, he
so there was
does.
that and it was fun.
And did you
Um,
play Witch Slapped with Bill?
I did not, but I played at his booth. I
Okay.
played with Josh,
Okay.
and I walked up, and these other people were kind of milling around, and they're like looking for another booth, but they were savvy enough to convince them to play a game of Witch Slapped before they pointed them to the other booth, and so I played with them, and it was a good time. That's a good game. People
I,
need to give Witch Slapped more of a chance. It's a fun little party game, in my opinion.
yes, they do. Yes, they do. My kids love that one, and my Reese, my oldest one, has already taught two of the neighbor kids how to play it. So like, and they've just been doing kind of one-on-one, which really isn't the way that game's designed. That game's designed to have more people playing. But I think Reese is just setting them all up. He's going to teach them one-on-one, and then it's going to be like, oh, hey, it's raining outside. We can't go outside and play. Here, let's go inside and play Witch Slapped, and there'll be like six of them playing. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, and I think if you can get the max players on that, and
Yeah.
as fast as that game moves,
Oh man,
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
that'll be
Yeah,
fun. Well, I gotta say that that was awesome, and I'm glad that you got to go to Gen Con. I'm a little jealous that you
you got
got
to
to
make
go.
it sometime. You got to make it.
I am. It's gonna go on my bucket list, and I'm actually watching right now the live the live recording of Critical Role, which is the voice actors playing D&D that was done there at Gen Con as well. So I'm watching that. I'm watching that in my spare time while I'm working, listening to that through YouTube, and it's just. I mean, it just sounds like just being able to go up there and play all these games, just try different stuff out, and like try this and try that, and not really have to worry about anything else. It's kind of a cool idea, and I I think it's awesome. I'd like to see Kansas City kind of get something like that going. I know I know they've tried with a few things, and hopefully it can develop down here and turn into something like that, because that's just a cool idea. I like it.
Yeah, it is. And you got to get the big vendors to pull the big crowds,
Yeah.
of course, and that's where Kansas City has either got to work their way up to, or they got to change something. But
Right.
yeah, because it would be nice not to have to pay for a hotel room and still be able to go to a big convention.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right. Well, we are going to end it there. We've gone on plenty long. You guys, you know where to find us. Go check out the blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. Kip over there is going to put some stuff up there. I know he's going to. He's got lots of pictures. He showed me a few of them already. So that's going to be awesome. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice, and you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, tiny.cc/geekvice. That's where you can get all your info and get notifications when we put stuff up there. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can follow that man over there at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And of course, you can email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks for everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later!
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.